Grazie, Minister Lorenzin, ministers, ladies and gentlemen. Since this conference is all about cooperation in the Mediterranean, allow me to start my address by speaking my native language, Maltese, a Semitic language with a strong Italian influence. In fact, it's the only official language of the European Union which is Semitic in nature. And this is a reflection of Malta's mixed history at the center of the Mediterranean. Merħba lill-Ministri kollha iżda l-aktar dawk tal-Mediterran. Din mhix konferenza ta' aħna u huma, hija laqa ta' imseħbin ta' ħbieb illi jaqsmu baħar wieħed. Kull ma jiġri fuq naħa jolqot in-naħa l-oħra. Fil-qasam tas-saħħa aħna rridu narfu illi m'hemmx frontieri u għalhekk irridu ngħinu lil xulxin għal ġid tagħna lkoll. Indirizzo a lei, signora Ministro. Sono lieto di essere qui a Roma perché lei ha capito subito l'importanza sì di una presidenza europea, ma anche di una presidenza mediterranea. La sua visione è veramente lungimirante. L'Italia è sempre stata in prima linea in materie mediterranee. È un paese fondatore dell'Unione Europea, guidata da uomini e donne di visione, che non hanno mai abbandonato alla loro sorte le fortune dell'altre sponde e che ha sempre visto il Mediterraneo non come un mare che blocca, ma un ponte che unisce. L'assistenza implica un grande sacrificio che il vostro Paese fa nel salvare migliaia di persone che naufragano nel centro del Mediterraneo. Questo è un esempio a noi tutti sul significato vero della solidarietà in Europa. Let me also say that I am particularly pleased to see so many ministers here from both sides of our Mediterranean Sea. This shows that our close historic and cultural bonds translate into a shared commitment of working together for better health in the Mediterranean. The countries of the Mediterranean have cooperated, traded, and held cultural, linguistic, and economic exchanges for centuries. We have more in common than our borders with the Mediterranean Sea. In these times of globalization, I believe that Mediterranean cooperation in health, in particular when it comes to protecting our citizens against health threats, is needed now more than ever. Our agenda will focus in particular on global health threats and the international health regulations, antimicrobial resistance, lifestyles, as well as health and migration. And starting with the first issue, health threats, these threats do not stop at national or European Union borders. As such, one country's health security is everybody's health security. This is something that we have learned with a number of recent epidemics, including avian flu, not to mention the current Ebola crisis that we are facing at the moment. And in this context, the international health regulations, which we must all apply, constitute a major achievement and a key driver in taking forward our fight against serious cross-border threats to health. In the European Union, we have already a decision on serious cross-border health threats, which entered into force last year, which provides a solid framework to address preparedness, notification of alerts, surveillance, risk assessment, risk management, and risk communication for all health threats. The decision also stipulates that EU member states consult each other with the Health Security Committee to support the implementation of surveillance and response under the international health regulations. So it is also important that we work closely together to improve our collective preparedness to monitor and contain infectious diseases. And in this regard, I am persuaded that projects financed by the European Union, such Episode Plus and Medipiet, can make a difference. Moving on, today we will also discuss antimicrobial resistance, which is occupying such an important place in the political agenda. And I remind you that towards Christmas, on the 22nd and 23rd of December, there's a conference of the Italian presidency on this subject. And the discovery of antibiotics in the 20th century was indeed a milestone. However, today the emergence and spread of microbes resistant to medicines is jeopardizing our ability to treat people with infections and putting people's life at risk. It is calculated that in the European Union alone, 25,000 people die every year unnecessarily owing to antimicrobial resistance. So the Commission launched in 2011 a 5-year action plan on the subject, and today's event fully reflects the fact that AMR is a global problem. It's not a European problem or an Italian problem or a Maltese problem. It is a European and global problem which needs a global response. Later this morning we shall speak about lifestyles, and here our countries face common challenges in this regard. I always say that when you look at the national health budgets of the European countries, only 3% goes to prevention. 97% goes for cure. And therefore, the best way how one cuts expenditure in health is to invest in prevention. By prevention, I mean healthy lifestyles, also good nutrition, more physical activity, and less consumption of alcohol and tobacco. So this is particularly important now when many countries on both sides of the Mediterranean Sea are reforming their health systems. So these 4 factors, we need to cooperate more. We can learn from each other everywhere, but particularly in the Mediterranean Sea. And finally, migration. We can't speak about the Mediterranean without speaking about migration. And some of our countries are facing particular challenges relating to coping with large unexpected inflows of immigrants. And let me stress that the EU is committed to addressing the health needs of migrants, whatever their legal status, regular or irregular. And the Union is willing to work together with neighbouring countries to address the issue of migrants' health in the context of the overall framework of collaboration on migration. To conclude, let me assure you that the Commission is committed to support Mediterranean countries in their joint efforts. And we have different policies and programs, the European Neighbourhood, the Union for Mediterranean. And we have already funded projects which are varied and numerous. In Egypt, we have funded the Health Sector Policy Support Programme 2, which started in 2010. In Jordan, we provided humanitarian assistance to meet the refugees' health needs and sanitation in communities hosting Syrian refugees. In Lebanon, the Instrument for Stability Programme will disperse 20 million euros to support public health services. In Libya, the Libya Health System Strengthening Programme has aimed at reinforcing strategic planning, financing and management of health service delivery. In Morocco, the EU support programme to healthcare coverage runs into millions of euros. In Palestine, policymakers have participated in EU-funded training sessions. And in Tunisia, EU funds have been directed towards the setting up of the National Agency for the Certification of Health Services. And recently, Israel and the European Union signed a cooperation agreement on drug addiction and health issues. Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, this is my last address as European Commissioner, since my term comes to an end on midnight of the 31st of October, and I do not want to sound as if I am singing my swan song before I leave office. But my vision is not a vision of a fortress Europe, although probably it is more popular to say so at these times of populism. But my vision is not of a fortress Europe. We have had too many fortresses, too many battles and wars in the past. We need to build a future for future generations. And this can be achieved if we move ahead, even if in small steps, but always ahead. And moving ahead in health is an ideal way of launching confidence-building measures. Not in any paternalistic or condescending way, but as equal partners. Health is part of foreign policy as much as security, and it is an excellent form of solidarity, dialogue, and cooperation. Let this Mediterranean Conference be a milestone of our strengthened cooperation on health. Thank you very much.